What's up, guys? This is Alex with Unlock Your Wellness. Today's video is all about the ketogenic diet, low carb diets, and why they might not be helping you in achieving your health goals. So let's get into it. Ketogenic low carb diets. They're very high in fat, they have moderate protein, and very, very low carbohydrates. And many people have found incredible success on these low carb diets in helping to heal their chronic conditions. This is because the keto diet has several strengths. It helps to regenerate the nervous system, the brain. It's very low in inflammation. It helps to regulate the blood sugar and insulin levels because it's very low in carbohydrates. It helps to heal the gut and balance the microbiome. And it also creates a very stable energy source for a lot of people. However, given that there are many strengths and good things about a diet like this, it's not a perfect diet. And I'm going to be talking about some of the weaknesses here and some of the problems that a diet like this creates if you stay on it for too long, if your body isn't wanting this kind of a diet. So if you've spent enough time in the health and wellness space, you know that a major problem and annoying part about it is the level of tribalism, the disagreement, the butting heads, the arguments. And we have multiple camps arguing that the way that they're living, their lifestyle, their diet, the foods that they're eating are better, or the holy grail, or the optimal human diet. For example, here we have folks who are, kind of following Ray Peat. He's sort of popularized this diet around lots of carbohydrates, lots of sugar. And we also have the low carb ketogenic carnivore folks as well. I put Eric Westman here, but there's a ton of other influencers and people you could, insert there. And they're both arguing that what they are doing is the truth. Okay, what they're doing is the best diet. But both sides are seeing results. Both sides are healing their conditions. So how can both things be true at the same time? What's the actual truth? So let's talk about it. So now we get into the oxidation rate. And the oxidation rate is this concept in nutrition that was discovered or founded by Dr. George Watson of UCLA. And he was working with many different patients who had all sorts of different mental illnesses. He discovered that some of his patients did better with more carbohydrates than others. And so with enough repetition and seeing these patterns unfolding, he categorized them as slow oxidizers or fast oxidizers. And it was basically determining how quickly they burned through their nutrients, how quickly they burned through glucose or carbohydrates. He could get incredible results in either of these camps by balancing and correcting their oxidation rate by giving them very specific diet recommendations, supplement recommendations. What does a slow oxidizer look like? A slow oxidizer is like you're driving in the slow lane. You're leaning more towards fatigue or being lethargic, more towards depression. You have fewer bowel movements. You might be running cold. And often these slow oxidizers are reliant on uppers to sort of boost them up. Fast oxidizers are the complete opposite. They're running at 100 miles an hour all the time, driving in the fast lane. They're leaning towards anxiety. They have way more chaotic energy, although it's not very stable and present and flow state type of energy. They run hot. They have more bowel movements, and they're likely sweating as well. Too extreme on either side is not a good thing. It's better for you to be somewhere in the middle, or like a mild slow or a mild fast. You can lean one direction or the other depending on your needs in your life or if something is going on in your environment at the time. So Dr. Watson found that in general, fast oxidizers felt much better if they had more fat in their diet, and slow oxidizers did better with more carbohydrates. They optimized that person's cellular energy and they felt better as a result. They had fewer symptoms. So in general, you can kind of think of it as fat tends to slow a person down and carbs speeds a person up. And interestingly, all of this information that Dr. Watson founded has been built upon further, especially in the mineral balancing and hair tissue mineral analysis space, where Dr. Paul Eck, who was the founder of mineral balancing and hair tissue mineral analysis, he was actually able to correlate these findings by Dr. George Watson on a hair tissue test. So depending on where that person's mineral system and the ratios and levels are lining up, we can calculate specifically what that person's oxidation rate is. So it's actually dependent on their mineral system. That's a foundational piece of how a person's physiology and metabolism and their oxidation rate are running. Back to talking about keto. So one of the main weaknesses of a ketogenic diet is that it's very low in potassium. You're not eating a lot of carbohydrates. You're not eating a lot of vegetables, and vegetables are highest in potassium. Over a long period of time, if you have not a lot of potassium coming in through your diet, you can get higher acid loads. And when you are leaning more acidic with your pH, you need alkaline minerals like potassium, like magnesium, right, to be able to balance that pH into an optimal place. If you can't do that, you're going to get all sorts of really nasty symptoms. The longer you stay in a ketogenic state or in an acidic state, it demands more and more minerals to balance things out. So if you restrict carbohydrates for a really long time, you end up sacrificing nutrient density, and you might not get as much a variety of nutrients. What I recommend for you is, in every single decision that you're making about your health, ask yourself, am I going towards or factoring in nutrient density over everything else? That's the most important thing that you can do for yourself in becoming healthy and maintaining a healthy life. Somebody who might be on a carnivore diet, on a ketogenic low carb diet for a really long time and isn't doing very well, and they're like, what the heck's going on? I recommend I put them on more root vegetables, more cooked vegetables in their diet, and they almost immediately start feeling better. And that's not a mistake. They're getting more minerals. So there are situations where somebody might feel better going into ketosis, either fast or slow oxidizers. And that is because it forces a person to make glucose from protein and glycogen from their liver stores of glucose. And that stabilizes their blood sugar. And that's way better over time than eating a very high sugar diet, right? A really processed, sugary diet is going to be the worst possible thing that a person can do because it sends a person on the blood sugar roller coaster. So even if being in ketosis isn't the best thing for optimizing their cellular energy, for balancing their oxidation rate, it's still giving them that benefit because, their blood sugar is way more stable and they're not all over the place with their ability to make energy. So in general, ketosis is usually better for a fast oxidizer over a slow oxidizer because fast oxidizers do way worse on higher carbohydrate diets. They process that higher carbohydrate load way faster, and that shoots their glucose to the moon. But just because that's true doesn't mean it's necessarily the best thing for fast oxidizers. Because as I mentioned before, what really matters is what's happening with their minerals. What's going on with the mineral system, the mineral ratios, which are basically influencing the person's nervous system and how quickly or slowly they're running. So like I mentioned before, fast oxidizers burn through glucose really quickly. So if they don't have enough fat and protein coming in through their diet, they're going to be on that blood sugar roller coaster, which is not where you want to be. So you want to help support a fast oxidizer to make them more resistant to the glucose so they have more flexibility there if they want to have a treat here and there. But even so, putting a fast oxidizer into ketosis might work sort of well for the time being. It might work pretty well. They might get good results because it's basically telling that person, okay, we got to convert protein to sugar and we can make do with it. But as I mentioned before, you run into a trap if you stay in this period for too long because you'll deplete your minerals. This is inevitable if you're not getting enough nutrient-dense foods in your diet. So slow oxidizers, on the other hand, they prefer burning fat because it helps to bring them stability as well, even if it's not going to optimize energy production and performance. However, this is a really key point here. When a slow oxidizer gets sugar in through their diet, their blood sugar rises really fast because they can't burn through it as quickly as a fast oxidizer does. we have more glucose circulating because you can't burn through it. And we also have the body of a slow oxidizer preferring to burn fat for energy. So we have simultaneously high glucose, high fat at the same time. And that is a recipe for disaster because the body has to lower the glucose levels first. It's always going to prioritize that because it's dangerous if it gets too high. It pumps out a ton of insulin, and then we have this extra fat that's floating around. So the body has to make a ton of fat. It stores fat and you gain weight as a result of that. So this can kind of explain why a person who's doing all of the right things, trying to lose weight, and they're not making any progress. It's because we're not giving them the specific nutrients and types of foods that they need to lose the weight. So it's very important that we're giving slow oxidizers more carbohydrates, but the carbohydrates need to be complex carbohydrates, okay? Low glycemic carbohydrates. So there's not excess glucose in the system that the person can't process very quickly. So the main point that I hope you take away from this video is that we run into traps when we try to shoehorn people into this sort of dogmatic practice or this set of macros and this diet is the best. Everyone is different. It depends on a person's oxidation rate. It depends on a person's mineral system and chemistry at any given point. And so we need to be asking the question, why is this person feeling this way? Why are they in this state? Why are they in the state of health that they're in right now? How are they functioning? And then we ask the question, how can we get them in a better state of health? What can we do to support their body's needs? No diet is perfect for everyone. That's the truth. We need to find out more information about the person so we can give them their unique needs at any given time. The trick with supporting a slow oxidizer is making sure that we're giving them the support that they need so that they can work with the glucose that they're getting in their diet as it's coming in. The key for fast oxidizers is helping them to slow down, okay, with diet and lifestyle, and also making sure we're giving them plenty of nutrients, plenty of minerals in the diet and supplement protocol, because they're burning through their nutrients so quickly because their engine's revving so fast. And the answer to this is hair tissue mineral analysis and mineral balancing, because mineral balancing takes all of this information, all these concepts into account, and we focus entirely on nutrient density and balancing the oxidation rate, optimizing cellular energy. Going back to the first couple of slides here, we have the high carb folks, we have the low carb folks. They're both butting heads. They're yelling at each other about which one is correct, and they're both getting good results or mostly good results with the diet that they're fighting for. When the truth really could be the Ray Peat carb folks are probably in slow oxidation and the keto low carb folks are probably in fast oxidation. Okay, that's really all that's going on. So I hope you enjoy this little meme here that I made. If you enjoyed this video and you got some value from it and you're curious about what your oxidation rate is and you want to identify that, well, let's run an HTMA. So if you're interested in getting a hair test, going on a mineral balancing program, and truly getting the best results that you are looking for when it comes to your health goals, definitely reach out to me. You have my email there. You have my website. You can also schedule a free consult with me. The link is in the description below. And that's it. Again, this is Alex. Hope you got some value from this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.